Welcome to Bamford Rose and another forum chat. This week it's about V12 and checks that you can do before making a purchase to make sure you're not buying something that's going to cause you a problem. Normally in forum chat I pick something off of a PistonHead forum, Facebook group, whatever it is, and flash it up and comment. This came from a phone call. And these types of phone calls happen far too regularly, and it really annoys me. This is where someone has saved or traded in their car, maybe it was Porsche 911 as it was in this example, for their aspirational Aston, and day one into ownership it's biting them on the bum, and the repair needed is like significant. Yeah, it's super distressing when this happens, because your dream shouldn't turn into a nightmare. So in this particular example, a guy has traded in his 911 with a bit of cash, got a DB9, and it's got the dreaded tick problem. So I just want to run over a few things on V12 cars to check at point of purchase. Now, a couple of these things might be a bit more than what you can do on your own. So these need to be pre-purchase checks that whoever you instruct to do your pre-purchase check does these things, okay? Right, one. I won't run over, else it will take too long, all of the details behind each potential failure. I just run through the things to do. One, I'd put a sniffer test, chemical sniffer, in the coolant system to check that there is no combustion gas being pushed across into the cooling system, causing pressurization and a loss of water. Reason for this, the liner would have sunk a little bit. That often happens when you get a bit of piston slap because the liner's worn oval. So get that check done. Next, check that it hasn't got an oil breather circuit problem. Two easy ways to do this. During pre-purchase inspection, see if the air filter element, the paper element, is saturated with oil, because gravity means that when it's fed back through the oil circuit, oil is going to drop into the air box and then saturate the filter. Next, pull off the throttle, open up the mechanical throttle blade. It's okay to push it against that mechanical resistance and open the blade 90 degrees. It's going to cause no problem. And then shine a torch in there, have a look if there's an excessive amount of oil clinging to the inside wall of the inlet manifold. Next is get the engine up to normal operating temperature. Get it to 3000 RPM for about 3 minutes. It's a long time. Revving it to 3000 RPM for 3 minutes. Drop it down to idle, open the door, put your head behind the driver's wheel and see from the underside of the car if you can hear a ticking sound. This is the dreaded DB9 tick.
So now we can hear the cyclic tick as we've lowered the engine RPM after getting considerable heat above the piston crown, and underneath this is quite noticeable, quite audible. If you were viewing this on the car that wasn't up in the air, then just put your head behind either driver or passenger front wheels, and the noise is very noticeable from underneath the car, less so from above the car.
Next will be lift the bonnet and where the valley plate is, and immediately above both inlet manifolds, see if you can hear a ticking, tapping sound from the valve train, and that's hydraulic lifters. Next would be, with the undersurface tray off, have a look at the front cover, have a look at the sump seal, check that it's not leaking any oil. So on the engine, that's about it. The next, you want to check for any misfire, because this causes a coil-related misfire causes the catalyst to crumble, and that debris gets ingested by the engine, and a failure happens. You're going to need the Aston Martin diagnostic system laptop for this, and what you're going to do is you're going to be looking at the real-time Misfire counts. And here's a screenshot of that real-time Misfire count after you've had the engine running for about 5 minutes at idle. This particular bar graph is showing low level misfire. You certainly don't want to exceed the level of misfire that this bar graph is showing. This amount of misfire will not put the misfire light on, will not put the engine emissions check light on. And this is because the manufacturer, by what's allowed in the legislation as sort of a buffer zone, their allowed amount of misfire before they put the light on. If they didn't have this buffer zone, then low level misfire would be putting the light on all the time, and obviously makers don't want to do that. So they're allowed certain regions where they can have a certain amount of misfire before it puts light on. If your bar graph is counting up and there's a red column to the top of the screen, this is obviously a serious misfire. Any more than the misfire I show in this bar graph is probably going to cause a catalyst to fail. And this is about the upper limit before there's no consequence. Now, on the phone call I've just had, I couldn't believe what I just heard, which was the guy's bought his DB9 from a generic premium sports car seller, and as soon as he's got it home, he's noticed this tick, which is objectionable. And he's taken it to one independent specialist and 2 franchise dealers. And the one specialist said, well, we've seen a couple of cars that exhibit this, and they've been running around for a time, can't see it being a problem. Right, you've been in the Aston world for a period of time, and I know this particular specialist has been in the game for years, longer than we have, and you've only seen 2? Really? There's some lying going on there. Either you don't want to tarnish the brand, or you really don't see enough cars to make comments on. And one franchise dealer which says, yeah, it happens, but just run it round because there's no consequence of it. And then there was one franchise dealer that told the guy, hey, this is a problem because any noise that an engine makes is an issue because the engine is outside of specification. Well, of course, that last statement is true. I think the dealer that said, oh, just run it round because nothing will happen, they probably know that their only route to fix it is a replacement engine, which the guy, in relation to the value of the car, isn't going to go for. And then they don't want to get drawn into a conversation which tarnishes the brand. I mean, as the DB9 tick videos that we've previously shot shows, and lots of other people worldwide that report this problem, on the early DB9 engines with that old level bush, the small end piston pin wear happens and there's ticks, and this affects a lot of cars. Equally, because I've got customers that own those cars as well, there's some with very high mileages on 80k that have never exhibited a tick and still don't, and they're fine. There's no rhyme or reason to this, but the message is, at point of purchase, just make sure you're not buying something that is going to cause you a problem. In this particular car, the vendor is saying, hey, well, the engine's running, and franchise dealer has said, there's no issue, it's not going to fail, and not going to give the guy the money back. Now he's caught in limbo because he traded his Porsche in with an amount of cash, and to get out of that deal now is going to be really difficult. It's really upsetting when I hear calls like this come through. The next question is, and I've seen this written down a few times, well, okay, it's got this tick, but how long will it run for? I've never put this to the test, but I think that if you were to nurse the car along and just go out for your Sunday drive and not rev it too high, we're talking never revving it above 3,000 RPM, I don't think it's going to develop into a catastrophic failure. What will happen on all the cars that I've seen is just the noise, because it's a wear state and it's wearing itself worse. That's what is happening when the rattling occurs. It's just going to wear itself into a noise that becomes so objectionable that it's embarrassing to drive the car. And I've seen a couple of these where from 20 meters away. Literally, they're parked up, and you can hear this ticking sound, and it's what the hell is making that rattle, and then you're surprised to see it's an Aston Martin making that rattle. I think if you were to do a track day in it, it's not going to survive. But no one tests to destruction that theory. But I hope those checks help people out, and these are the sorts of things that you need to be box ticking to go eyes wide open into a V12 purchase. As always, I hope you find that useful, and if you would like, comment, subscribe and click the bell notifications, it really helps us out.